YouTube, I'm here today with another literary term for you, and today's literary term is death of the author. This is a term that actually comes from an essay written by Roland Barthes in 1967, and I think it raises some very interesting issues when we analyze and interpret a text. So I'm just going to tell you about it. Okay, first of all, Barthes argues that writing and the creator are not related. So, in other words, the intentions and the biographical context of the author are irrelevant to the interpretation of the work that you're studying or you're reading. Reading should not take into consideration, he believes, the political views, the historical context, the religion, the ethnicity, the psychology, etc. of the author. He believes that this actually imposes limits on text to just one interpretation, the author's interpretation. He argued instead that the meaning of a work should come from the reader as opposed to the writer. And I'm just going to quote him here. The text's unity lies not in its origins, but in its destination. The author is no longer an author to Barthes. He's a scripter, or he or she is a scripter. Their purpose is to produce text, but not to explain it. The author, he says, can never be original because language itself is not original. It is the result of 1,000 sources of culture, he says, and the words can only be explained by using other words from an enormous dictionary, right? The main focus of writing, he said, is to have it be read. He says here, life can only imitate the book, and the book itself is only a tissue of signs, a lost, infinitely remote imitation. Meaning for Barthes lies in the language itself and not in any context. He argues that we cannot really know what a scripter means. The language is what we can use to interpret and analyze the text, and no text ultimately has no single meaning. He says literature is that neuter, that composite, that oblique, into which every subject escapes, the trap where all identity is lost, beginning with the very identity of the body that writes. Now this was written in 1967. We know all today that authors are more accessible than ever through social media sites. We have interviews with them, we talk to them on Twitter. If we have a question about the text, we can do that. We can look up their biography on Wikipedia. What are your thoughts on this idea of the death of the author? Where do you think the interpretation and the meaning of a text comes from? Should it come from the author or should it come from the reader? Is it that simple? I don't know. My question here, I guess, is do you agree with Barthes in our 21st century world where we're inundated with social media and all this stuff? What do you believe about the interpretation of texts? And do you believe the author should not be taken into consideration when you're reading? Those are my questions for you. Let's get a discussion going in the comments, and thank you for watching.